Bren
How's it
here.
going,
Got my
Brent?
good. How you doing?
That's
Thanks, sir.
good.
How you doing for Loco? Happy Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Max, how you doing, brother?
or or happy 3 days before Friday.
True.
Exactly. Awesome. So I did just post it in the channel right now. Hope everybody is having an amazing Tuesday. I know I am. It has been a couple days since we've been on stream. Usually we start out by doing a nice little Rotes review, like we like to call it, with our other guy Rotes, but he is feeling sick today. So we're just gonna go and get straight into it. Am I sharing my screen already? No. Okay. But for those of you guys, I know some people are coming in through the Telegram channel. I do see some people in the chat. If you're new to the streams, first of all, welcome. We like to make these streams super interactive. So we'll be checking the chat the whole time. If you have any comments, questions, chart requests, or tickers or anything like that, when it comes to the time for that, definitely leave those in the chat. What's up, Ethan? What's up, Frenzy? What's up, Rojam? Always cool to see you, brother. Panda, of course. Um, but Max, how are you doing today, bro?
Good guys.
Good to hear. Good to hear. So let me see. Do you want to go and let me? Oh, okay. I gotta press it. I see it.
We have the
Awesome.
heat map up, but seeing a lot of people: Andre, Eth, Bob, Frog, and a bunch of other
You
people. If
said
you're
you had
sharing
the
your,
heat map up.
yeah, you're good now.
Perfect. That was on the heat map for the okay. Yeah, I know what you mean. Awesome. So let's just go ahead and pull up the chart. For the last few weeks on stream, we've been focused a lot on talking a lot about the developments of the tariffs, a lot of stuff going on, especially with kind of the price action just being in consolidation. But we got a pretty big explosion across the board. I mean, obviously it's like a 5% move on Bitcoin, nothing to get fucking cheering over, right? But we did see a nice little bounce here, bigger on ETH and Sol than on Bitcoin, or at least on Sol. And then we did see the memes, at least the strong memes, SPX, Giga, Mog, those ones bounced 20 or 30% as well. So kind of a little bit of a bounce across the board here. We did say, I have been saying in the streams and in the Telegram that the biggest, like the number one thing, the biggest common factor between every single one of these the bottoms of these corrections, the corrective bottoms, is one thing. It's consolidation. Max always talks about on these streams. For those of you guys, maybe if you're new, we're blessed to have Max here, who has decades of experience in the traditional finance realm, has been on all the big publications hundreds of times, and he's blessed. He's gracious enough to do these streams with us. One of the biggest things that he's been talking about lately is that at the end of every one of these corrections, it usually almost always ends in boredom. Kind of people just falling asleep, not paying attention. When price does go back up, nobody's really cheering. What that manifests in is consolidation on the chart. So that's kind of what we've been seeing the last few weeks. So I've been saying, I have been expecting this bounce, but of course we must look at these past corrections, just like in summer of 2024. We've had times where we came up almost to the all-time high here back in July of 2024 and ended up retesting the low. So of course, until that all-time high is broken, um, it's we're definitely not 100% out of the woods, and we shouldn't be fucking cheering. But Max, I know you're always saying, usually the train leaves the station with nobody in it. We're starting to see some people kind of cheering, but not too much from my end. Do you think enough people are out of the train, or is there too many people screaming "We're so back"?
Uh,
What are your thoughts on the move?
I'd love to say no one's excited, but they are. So I wouldn't be surprised if it takes a little more chop as we break out of this pattern. Um,
Yeah,
it's just you gotta have no one wanting, no one liking what's happening, even if it bounces. The less liking it, the preferred route.
yeah. I remember that's how it was in August of 2024. I remember when we started moving out of here, very few people were even paying attention until we were near all time highs. A lot of people were saying, we're just gonna form a triple top or whatever the fuck they were saying. So 100% agree. Could definitely see that scenario. And I mean, from my end, just chart wise, usually these corrective channels, I like to call them, have at least two or three lows in them, just historically across all these different assets. This technically is the first low. So just based on that, again, this is just one data point. These, what I'm talking about here is not what actually moves these charts up. But statistically, I wouldn't be surprised again if we get a retest or of 80K and to kind of stay in this consolidation, or even possibly a one more low in like the low 70s, 72K, which I think would fill that CME gap, right, Max?
Yeah, I think we've got one little gap down there that you know could be a 5 minute wick if you really thought about it.
Yeah. So maybe even just stay in this consolidation wick down there. There's a number of things have happened that can happen, but of course, who knows what's going to happen in the short term. Just got to stay patient. ETH though, we did get a little bit of a move. I do think ETH is going to have um, probably the biggest explosive move out of the three on this next leg up, due to how low it is compared how like underperforming it's been the last few years, as well as again I keep saying this. I think ETH is going to be the biggest beneficiary, or like the bigger benefactor, however you say it, of the regulatory clarity that's coming. I reposted this on Twitter the other day. Um, Down here, the BlackRock's head of digital assets in this video, he talks about how ETH, at least right now, has the best chance of like where they're building their tokenization on Ethereum, because these bigger investors really like the decentralization, or they really I don't know, they really like the decentralization and everything it brings. So I think again, most of the tokenization, digital stocks, NFTs, all that stuff will be on Ethereum, which will have Ethereum, really doing well on this next leg up over the next few years. Um, but let me see. I'm not looking at the chat. Is there any? I need to get my phone. But
I have a few
besides,
points here. If you want, I can add some color
yeah,
from what I think.
yeah,
Yeah. So, yesterday actually was one of those days that, I thought we were, how we've been ranging, at least across, all like whether it's Solana, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, across these ranges. But at yesterday night, actually, I was expecting to be a little bit more weakness after such a big rebound there. But overnight, I remember waking up at 3:30 or 4 a.m. my time, and the market was pumping, which is telling me that perhaps this is more than just a relief or a relief rally, but actually something is changing macro wise that is affecting price and perhaps long term outlook for the markets, right? Like it, something happened last night, not just yesterday, that made me kind of like flip bullish. So I personally had some long positions, but aside from that, I think over the last month, we've been reviewing, especially in the Bridge Street Labs Discord, a B3L Discord, that there was a few signs, especially with tariffs calming down, and a few things happening in the markets, whether it's like we believe, and there's a few interviews that you guys probably have seen from All In podcast with some of the state representatives and people at the top of the government, right? That they're saying that the economy is stable and they can't afford a recession, right? So all points out that whether everyone was scared of I guess it was jobless claims or whatever, and recession
mm-hmm.
signs, is going to end up being a buying opportunity. So what we've seen, definitely a lot of rotation, and I think particularly we're seeing Bitcoin decoupling from the Mag 7, that being the top Magnificent Seven stocks, and perhaps starting to play more of the role that we wanted it to play, which is a role against currency devaluation, as well as acting more as a hedge for the current debt trends that the U.S. and the world is headed for. So also a couple, I think we discussed the stable coin supply growing. It's actually very bullish for the space, because more and more liquidity and capital is being added to on chain. So a few signs that make me think that perhaps this is more than just a relief rally, and we are headed for perhaps the next high. But again, this is just my perspective, and I don't know what you guys think. It's still too early, or we're still in a rotation mode or consolidation mode, as you mentioned, Brent.
Yeah, yeah. I think the key, at least what we've been pointing across, is that like the short term is just, you know, who knows. There's so many different things. I think just remaining bullish, especially during these corrective phases that are just have a lot of similarities to 23 and 24. Just remaining bullish and just being in buy and hold mode, at least on the good assets, I think is a good thing. But Max, before we get into what's happened, and other things, just this price move, Bitcoin wise, just the last few days of price action, anything like that, chart wise. Any other thoughts? Um, anything?
I just think if people can, I know this is hard, but if people can find a way to forget about what it's doing every 5 minutes,
Yep.
they're going to be dumbfounded what it does in 5 months,
Yep.
and they're going to be numb when they find out what it does in 5 years. So I just think the mindset is such that we've you've got to decouple your need to maybe a better way to say this is the more someone looks at a chart, the more your mind is going to try to tell you what it means.
Yeah. Exactly.
And at the end of the day, you got no fucking idea what it means. Um,
Yep.
but what you can do is control the number of times you're going to fuck up and make a mistake by looking at it less. Like you, you're you're the devil is in your brain, and you just can't. I mean, look at the three or four things we talked about in the last two pieces, right? We talked about tariffs being completely a head fake, and
Yep.
watch before they're done, they're going to be a total head fake.
Yeah. We'll
Uh,
talk about that.
we talked about God, I can't think of all the things we talked about
Uh,
in a second.
Tariffs, trade, trade war. What
Tariffs,
else?
tariffs, trade deals. Just this morning, while on CNBC, big headline: India meeting with Trump to reduce U.S. tariffs on 28 billion of imports. See, people have to realize the media is going to send you in the wrong place every fucking time. Every time. So if for some reason you think that whatever you're reading in the headlines and whatever you're hearing those fucking idiots talk to you about on TV, if you think that's the news that you should be following as an investor, then please stop investing. I have been doing this too long, and the fucking media is absolutely horrible when it comes to understanding what you should invest in.
Just there to trip you up,
It
essentially.
is it is there they don't give one two shits about what you're investing in.
Yeah.
They want your attention.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just
They
clicks.
want their checkbook to work. Their checkbook only works if you're paying attention. If you're not paying attention, A, you are going to do better in your own wealth building, and B, they're going to go broke. Period.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just to touch on your point before we move on from the charts and maybe talk about some more tariff stuff. And even me, I've learned to, I'm more of a swing trader, even with the leverage and stuff, and stop paying attention in charts. But even more so the last few weeks, just making sure to not look at charts, maybe even just a few times a day, if that. And let me tell you, it's been fucking definitely freeing. But Extraordinary says, but the media does have some sort of influence on crypto in general.
No, it doesn't. Nope. No, look. Do you know how long I've heard that in the stock market terms? I've heard that since the day I started in August of 1982. Your mind leads you to believe in very short term increments that it looks like it influences it. In the long term, it doesn't have a fucking thing to do with. Put it this way: if it had a long term effect, you tell me how I watched the Dow go from 901 to 45,000. You tell me how I did that. If the media has some impact on the market, tell me how that happened. It
Great
it
point.
is it is literally not true, but your mind will lead you to believe it's true.
Love that. Already got 436 people on here. Love to see that. Like I said, guys, super. If you're on, just coming on the last few minutes, welcome. Love to have the chat super or the show super interactive. So definitely say what's up in the chat. We're looking at it. Unslaggin said if it did, we would be ripping. Yeah. Dark says I honestly feel like we just need to find follow a few real people and just leave the media. Yeah, for sure. So much. But yeah, let's go ahead and Max.
Yeah, I guess to point out what Max said is like headlines are for traders and fundamentals are for investors, right? At the end of the day, has anything changed with Bitcoin? No, it hasn't, right? So it really is just like if you really pay attention to the short-term noise, as a trader, might be helpful, but as an investor, it's only going to hurt you because it's going to run around like a crazy chicken without a head, just like long short here and there, and you're going to get wrecked for sure.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're not going to last. That's
Yeah.
the reality is you're simply not going to last. So if you want to be a bottle rocket that flies around for 5 seconds, great, wonderful, but it doesn't
Hmm.
last. It just
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. So the only way it works a long time, I'll tell you what, the only way you're going to see a $1 million Bitcoin is if you watch all the $20,000 Bitcoins. That's it.
Mhm.
You're Sailor said this the other day. Um, Becky Quick said, "Well, what do you think? It's going to recover? Oh, I think it's going to go to 180 and then it's going to crash all the way to 140 and everybody's going to want out again." And that's exactly right. It's going to crash to 140. It's going to be, quote, "Oh my God, Bitcoin is down $40,000 in a week from 180." And then it's going to go to 320 and it's going to crash to 210. And then it's going to go to 445 and it's going to crash to 390. And everybody waiting on the crash to be over is going to get in a 1,000,005.
Yep. So the only constant. How about? Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. Now, did you see this, Max? Michael Saylor. I don't know if this was an old interview or if this was new. Pretty much confirmed because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, is he ever going to sell whatever he's going to give it to?" Where is this Bitcoin going to go? I think in this he confirms that he's at least in here that he's going to like go with his Bitcoin. Um, like
Oh
he'll
yeah,
burn.
he's mentioned that a couple times. He's not.
Yeah,
He'll die. You know. But look, that who cares about that? I
yeah,
mean, it's just, I don't want to see the guy die, so I'd rather him stay around for a while. So I'm not worried
absolutely.
about.
Yeah,
I'm not really worried about what he does when he dies.
yeah. No, I hear you. I just thought that was interesting.
People want to see the Soul Sui charts. If you want to pull that
Yeah,
up as
yeah.
well.
Why don't we do that?
Yes, sir. All right. Soul. Actually, it's this one. Yeah. So we pulled up Soul a little bit. Obviously, up a little bit more percentage wise than Bitcoin and ETH. I'd expect Sol to do the exact same shit that Bitcoin does. If this is the bottom and we do rock it up, I I, I expect Sui and ETH, just like every other time we've come out of these corrections, to fall into the upside. Maybe Bitcoin dominates for a while longer, or it dominates and moves up quicker or whatever. But generally, when these bottoms happen on the corrections, the other two do usually follow Bitcoin. Now, which one outperforms? Who knows? I think generally, just like having a basket of all these is good. Sui though, Mike, you said you've been buying some Sui during this correction,
Oh
right?
yeah, yep. I
Love
bought
that.
both. So
Yeah, I think what we're seeing on Sui chart wise is just like what what we saw in March of 2024, kind of this corrective channel like structure, lack of consolidation up top, multiple lows. Remember, I was saying on Bitcoin, the corrective channel only had one low. This one has two or three. So I wouldn't be surprised for it to chop out and then, of course, go up when the other majors go up. I think Max has made a great point on this show, and what the kind of point that I like to make about meme coins as well, but just especially with the bigger coins that you don't even have to overcomplicate shit right now. Just throwing a dart, like Mike says, at the top 50, not only is that going to give you, almost 0% rug risk, and the risk is very good, but I mean, Sui is 2x off the all time highs, right? So even if it just did 2x above all time highs, that's a 2 to 5x on a big coin that's solid, been around for multiple years. Um, so yeah, is there any other big ones on TradingView they're asking for? Justin says, "What's up, B3L team? What's up, Justin?
What's up,
Uh,
Justin? Good to see you, man.
good to see you." AVAX, I really like here too. I think I was gonna pull up this tweet from Alex Becker. I do agree with this. We've been talking a lot about on stream recently the RWA with NFTs, particularly last week. I do think RWA AI, the tech like Tau, these other ones we've been talking about are really going to shine on this next run. A lot of these charts for these coins are looking really, really good, including crypto gaming. That's why I was pulling up AVAX. Most of these big, like kind of bigger crypto games that have been in development for multiple years that many anticipate could like really hit and catch on are built on AVAX or on Avalanche. So again, on this next run, I expect not only for to do well like a lot of these top 50 coins, but very likely outperform due to that narrative. Ondo being probably the biggest RWA coin. Max, is there any other ones that have RWA coins you've been looking at recently
Uh,
um,
uh, no,
that you can think of? No,
no.
gotcha. I think Ondo is probably the most notable one. I do like the correction on here. Again, the lack of consolidation. I think Ondo is a top 50 coin as well. So as far as RWA,
People want to see XRP, Trump, Ton, and BNB as
hell
well.
yeah.
So
Is
And
that all?
Filecoin, and Filecoin because it's a good indicator of the crypto recovery. I know.
For sure. Yeah, let's hit a few of the bigger ones. Thanks, he was saying right now, and then we'll move on to some memes because a lot of them did bounce pretty hard off of the Bitcoin bounce. XRP, like we've been talking about on the streams lately, XRP, Max was saying that there's obviously something there with the banking system, some type of connection. How deep does it go? Are they going to make it like a full blown part of the banking system? Who knows? But if there is anything there, like it seems, conservatively, we should see it continuing to go up with the rest of the crypto industry in that top 50. I really like this corrective channel it's having at a actually really crucial high. Um, I think it is an all time high from 2018. And I'm not surprised to see a correction here. We're seeing the same thing on a lot of other coins, but yeah, I expect XRP to continue up. Like Max was saying, if it does continue to, you know, gain steam, like I think $10, 8 to $10 is probably pretty conservative during this bull run. But I'd really like XRP chart wise. So I'm looking on here. What were the other ones they were saying? Danksy?
Trump,
Oh yeah,
we can do that
Trump.
later. But Injective, BNB, yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah, I Injective. I haven't looked at this in a minute. Chart wise, it looks really corrective. Lack of consolidation looks a lot like these corrective chart patterns or these corrective channels that a lot of these other coins we've been looking at has. Just the fact that Injective been around for years. I haven't really been keeping up with the developments or anything, but the fact that it's in the top 50 or top 100, whatever it is, 3 or 4 years in the game, 5 years in the game, whatever this is, I'd expect this to do well with the rest of the market. Um, But yeah, I think we should probably move on to the memes and look what's happened with there. And then we'll talk about some more of the tariff stuff and some more of the developments on the news side. But let's go in memes. Yesterday, as we usually see with a lot of when these Bitcoin corrections end, we're seeing a lot of the big memes, at least the ones that have been around for a bit, bounce pretty hard. SPX 6900, with the last few days of Bitcoin price action, went up probably like 30-40%, 2x from the low here. Of course, if Bitcoin does come down again, like we were saying, we could see it, come down one more time. But I think just the fact that we're seeing these memes bounce while Bitcoin does is a great sign, and exactly what we've seen at the end of these other corrective periods in the past. And I expect SPX, Bitcoin, or SPX, MOG, uh, Giga, all of those that have been through these massive corrections before, to go back to all time highs and sustain higher price, or sustain these higher market caps because of these massive corrections that they went through. So yeah, as these big memes, SPX, Giga, Mog, the one I've been talking about for a while, in the streams and elsewhere. I, again, whether it's from here or one more move down from Bitcoin, when the majors do bottom out, just like we've seen every other time this happens, I expect Giga, Mog, SPX to not only rip, but very likely lead the market because of the supply dynamics that come from these massive corrections. So yeah, super bullish on these coins still. Mog, same kind of thing. Probably the most under, or like the underrated one, or like, since it's 200 million, stuff like this, meme coin wise. Again, I know a lot of stuff will recover. A lot of this AI stuff should do all right and recover, but again, it's never been through these corrections before, right? So I have nothing. I have a lot more confidence, a lot more conviction in, again, the coins that have survived these crashes before, that have shown they have strong communities, and that people that are believe in a higher thing other than just what price is doing right now. And so for that reason, these are the coins I'm not only holding, but I've been buying slowly on the way down. So um, they're asked about Trump. Yeah. So for me, my base case, or my thoughts have always been, obviously Trump created a big a euphoric top in memes, in general, even though they were kind of already topped out before that. But I expect, I mean, we saw Trump talk about it on True Social again yesterday. I think that what that shows is that they very likely will support it in some sense long term. And I think that when meme coin conditions are on as a whole, that this very likely goes up, or has as good of a chance as any of these other memes to go up. Again, because of the operators behind it, the ability for Trump to tweet about it, all these different things they can integrate it into. All it would take is a few small things like that, to really get it going. So for that reason, I'm holding my Trump. It's not been one that I've been adding to as heavily as the other ones I was talking about. Again, because of this is its first 90% correction. But with everything going on with Trump, the narrative there, I think, Max, you said that if Trump, if everything goes well with the Trump crypto stuff, the regulations, everything, you probably expect this to do well, um, at some point.
Yeah, I do, but again, I don't think it'll be a leader. I think a lot of the other big elements are going to, push this market much higher.
Gotcha. So, what are your thoughts, as far as like you said, you don't think it'll be a leader. What do you think will lead on this next leg up? Do you think it'll be a lot of the top 50 stuff because how the institutions think about this stuff, low cap, mid cap, high cap? What are some of the sectors you think really are going to do well, other than obviously Bitcoin and ETH and Sol?
Well, I think the whole tokenization process is going to drive the NFT platforms. Anything that can tokenize a real asset is an obvious long-term winner. Um, all the
Hondos.
platforms that drive technology of contracts and tracking assets and banking. I mean, all the normal things in an economy. AI, obvious. Um, you know, our minds are trained to think that we've got AI figured out. We're like on the 1 centimeter line of a 500-yard football field. You
Yep.
know, it's uh, we haven't even. I mean, we can spell AI because it's pretty easy, but I don't know that we know much beyond that in real life.
Absolutely. Gonna take a miracle for Trump to return to highs. Could take a cycle or two. Yeah, we'll see, man. Someone says, "Hey, Brand, why does Trump talks don't really have why don't Trump talks don't really affect Trump that much?" Because conditions are shitty right now, man. Like for example, Elon. I remember he used to tweet about Doge during like the bear market, or he put out a few tweets about Doge during the bear market. It does nothing during shitty conditions like this. When again the majors lead everything. When Bitcoin is just chopping or not doing much, very even these when they tweet about it, like Trump for example tweeted about it on True Social and tweeted about or True Social and then tweeted about it a few weeks ago, does nothing to price. But when conditions are good, Bitcoin's on the up or at least not correcting or down, usually those are when those like, news or those whatever tweets and stuff have an effect. So um, what are your view on A47? We'll look at some memes here in a second. I think it'll feel like it will take time for Trump to get to all-time highs. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see. Bull market. Nog is the deepest liquidity. Oh yeah, and then one more FWOG. FWOG, as well is hasn't. This is its first 90% correction. But these corrections in meme coins, 90%, 80, 70 to 90% corrections, even though they're brutal, they're kind of a rite of passage in any of these meme coins. You see MOG, SPX, Giga, those ones I talked about before, all have been through them multiple times. This is the first one for FWOG. And the fact that there's still a community stuck around, the artist, I think, is the biggest driver, with being hired by Yuga Labs and everything else I'm seeing, as well as this consolidation for over a month. I think that FWOG is going to be one of the ones that does recover from the 90% corrections. 90% corrections. For that reason, I've been adding a little bit slower to it, but holding all the FWOG that I have. And yeah, that's another one. Someone asked about that. What about Sui? Yeah, we talked about Sui. Um, Top 50 coin, did really well the last few years. Obviously, has a lot of mind share, so I think continue to do well. That was from earlier. But let's see. But yeah,
Oh,
meme coin.
Farcoin, Farcoin.
Oh yeah, of course, Farcoin. But meme coins overall, guys, I think same as the top 50, like we were talking about before, on the bigger coins. Just don't overcomplicate it right now. If you're going, if memes are what you're choosing to DCA into right now, pick the ones that have strong communities that have been through these corrections before, and slowly add to them. There's always, if you like to play with the smaller stuff, if you really do, there's time for that. Right now is really not it. Fartcoin already exploding out of this consolidation. Could it decouple, continue even if Bitcoin continues to drop? Sure, but either way, I expect Fartcoin to do well during this next period. I think it's like a kind of a cult meme coin slash AI hybrid, kind of taking on its life of its own.
Yeah.
Still talking about it.
I
Uh,
think it's the reason why I've been following Farcoin, not just because of the volume. I think it's the Wall Street chosen child for crypto, right? It's a speculation coin of the cycle for Wall Street. So
yeah,
like when I was monitoring, obviously you would think that when Farcoin does well, Solana does well, but actually Farcoin is the one that started the recovery before Solana did. Like last week, yeah, it's interesting. That's why people are tracking it as a way to measure the risk that people are willing to take, right? And how the not the health of crypto, right? Because Bitcoin is 10 times more important, but people don't buy Bitcoin to speculate. Most people buy Bitcoin to hold, right? Whereas Farcoin is 100% a speculation, no utility, no value, nothing, right? So when you see the token, I think it's about almost 3x, no, 2x from the bottom, right? Or
almost three. Yeah,
3x. Yeah,
about
almost 3x from the bottom. Whereas Solana, I think it's about 30% or something like that, 40% from the bottom. It tells you that people are willing to take risks and speculate on assets that have obviously the fundamentals of Filecoin are much bigger. I mean, doesn't really require that much volume and liquidity to flip this up. But it's about only I would say halfway there to all time highs, right? Almost right there, which kind of like is starting to tell you that maybe people are willing to take a little bit more risks, and
yeah. We're
then
starting
Solana
to
will
see it.
probably follow afterwards.
For
So
sure, 100%. Yeah, no, and we're starting to see it kind of in like some of the smaller coins, at least from what I heard. I don't really play too much, especially right now in the low cap stuff. But I'm starting to hear that some stuff's like starting to continue, not die out in a day, and there is some signs of strength there. But yeah, again, I think generally when the majors do recover, we'll start to see some strength and everything else. Jeremy, what's up, brother? Good to see you. We do already have 721 people in here at one point. Love to see that. Not even halfway through the show. If you guys could please retweet, like, comment on the post so we can get this out to more people. While we're doing this, before I forget, I do want to go ahead and, if you guys aren't already, definitely shoot Max a follow on Twitter. He's been posting some great content on here. This tweet, love this tweet from him today. Or no, that's the pinned one. Oh no, that's the one. Yeah, love this tweet from him today. He's going to start putting out video content as well. He has on his YouTube here some great videos talking about a lot of the concepts we talk about in the stream, way more in depth. Especially these two about the media headlines and the pain of fear, showing how over the years, like at least once a year, at least every few years, one of these big fear events happens that knocks a lot of people out of the market. Awesome videos. You can expect a lot more videos from here on here. Yeah, definitely shoot him a follow. Again, guys, we do these streams twice a week: Tuesday, 1 p.m. PST, 10 a.m. PST on Friday. We're definitely gonna have more guests on as well. We'll have one next week, as well as probably aiming for a guest at least once a week, to kind of hear interesting stories. I feel like there's a lot of people in crypto who's like really great stories go untold. So definitely want to do that as well. Already 750 people in here, and then definitely shoot the B3L guys here a follow as well. I'll let them kind of explain a little bit what they have going on. But been doing the streams with them for about 8 months. It's been amazing. Great group of guys. They have a NFT project that gives you access to an amazing community. For Loco, you want to break down what you guys got going on, lately?
Yeah, definitely. So as you mentioned, we have a pretty niche group of about 400 entrepreneurs and founders in the space. We all got to meet each other over the last 3 years. Mostly during the bear market is really when we uh, formed this group. A lot of people were losing hope, but we actually kept building, and we've been helping founders build in the space with their projects. We have a platform and a launchpad where we help them with capital resources to get started, as well as we like to invest together. So we have trading resources. We have lessons in there, as well as indicators that kind of like help each other understand how to better trade and succeed in the space. So our community, again, you can find us on Magic Eden. We have a collection called B3L Beasts, and it's 1,000 NFTs. And as Brand clearly mentioned, it gives you access to our Telegram channel as well as our Discord channel, where you can find all these resources and start to take advantage of them. So, yeah.
Of course. Appreciate that. Definitely go ahead and shoot the B3L account a follow. I do want to. I think we talk about it every show. At least do like a brief overview because it's been, really a big topic right now, with the tariffs. Max, I think you broke it down for us in our group chat, really eloquently. Do you want to go over a little bit about that? Let me see. What are your thoughts on like the current situation with the tariffs and what's going on with that?
Well, I just think people have to realize the goal of the quote tariff war is not to cause a recession. the
Yeah.
goal the goal of the tariff war is a couple fold. People don't recognize, or maybe they don't realize, that over the decades, the United States economy has permitted massive tariffs against us in other countries. In other words, people don't even know that they think when they hear Trump say, I'm going to tariff this, that somehow we are suddenly treating a country unfairly. Well, what they don't realize is that's not even remotely the case, because that country has been treating us unfairly for decades. So all that's happening right this minute, as much as the media wants to express America in a negative light, and don't ask me why, it's sick in my opinion. I think they ought to be shut down, but we're a free country, so they get to do it. But the point is they want to paint a picture that is patently false. Donald Trump is trying to accomplish one of two things. A, no tariffs whatsoever as long as you make your stuff in our country. We buy most of it anyway. You ought to make it here, giving people in this country jobs to make the stuff you sell us. It's really simple. It's not hard, it's not rocket science. It's really simple. That's number 1. Number 2, if you cannot make your stuff in our country, or it would be too obscenely unreasonable, then we are only going to pay tariffs at the rate you pay tariffs. So if you're charging us a tariff for our imports, then we're going to charge you a tariff. That's why it's called reciprocal. But guess what? It doesn't have to be a tariff, because the minute you don't charge us to go into your country, we're not going to charge you to go into our country. I mean, it's completely fair. If you just think of it logically, it's what you would do if you had a little business and you were trying to sell all over the world. That's the same thing you would do.
Yeah.
It is obscene to think that there are so many people that think we ought to do it unfairly. The reason they think we ought to do it unfairly is A, they're a nut, B, they didn't know it was happening, or C, they're stupid. I mean, that's just illogical to think you would do it any other than a fair way.
Yeah, I
So
think the biggest thing is people don't realize is that, like you keep saying, America has been treated unfairly or whatever trade wise for however many years. People just automatically assume America, has the best trade deals or whatever. So they see the tariffs as somehow
the
whatever
biggest
abusive.
example of a misunderstanding is all the decades of talk about China.
Yeah,
Well, I want to tell you something about China. China is there because of one country, us, the United States of America, built China. Let me make that as clear as I possibly can. If 35 years ago we did not decide as a country to start sending stuff over to China and actually help them build the factories that would build it for us so we could bring it back cheaper than making it here, if we had not done that, China would be a gigantic farm still. China has nothing, zero that we need. Not a single thing do we need from China. The only
You know
reason,
what? It's gonna be great to have my friend Ben. He's actually from China, so it's gonna be great
oh
to have him
no,
on Friday. And I want him to provide some different points as well. But please keep going, Max. Sorry to interrupt you.
yeah, I'm glad to have that discussion. But here's the point. The point is that it no longer works. Why do you think China's economy is getting weaker and ours is getting stronger? The more we bring back from China, the more you realize it's a skeleton. It is an event that we created. And we're going to prove that to the entire world because we're going to uncreate it. And we're going to uncreate it because all the factories are going to come back to the United States. So listen, this has been a farce. It was an effort to help what we thought would be a communist country that would turn into a free country. It didn't. It's a communist country. People forget that. Everybody says to me, "Hey, should I buy Chinese stocks?" And I say to them, "Well, do you want to wake up one day with the risk they decided that you don't own the stock anymore?" Well, what do you mean, Mike? Well, they're a communist government. They make the rules. They can decide at any point in time that all the stocks are worthless. That's what
Yeah.
a communist country does. So if you want to take that risk, great. But if you don't have to take that risk, why would you take it? Why do you think that China's stock market is almost where it was when the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009 happened? Why do you think they never recovered? Ever?
I hear a lot of people saying, like, especially off the back of this, oh, like buy Chinese, like you're just saying, buy Chinese stocks because it's going to outperform the
No
fucking
fucking way.
S&P.
No,
Bullshit.
there's not a there 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 is not a shot in hell that's going to happen.
All right, gotcha. I'm actually excited for this conversation next week. That's going to be good. Um, what's going on in the comments? Somebody said, "Well, Max, why do you think there's more employment problems? Do you think the tariffs will solve that employment issues?"
Employment problems. Where's employment problems?
Yeah, I don't know what he means by that. Maybe he just means what it will do employment. What, like, I don't know.
Well, think about
I
this.
think we
Think
wanted more unemployment.
what's that?
Yeah,
That's what they want.
yeah, he's a
We wanted more unemployment, not
Yeah,
employment.
we
This
want
is very
we
strong.
want.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what's happening right now. If indeed we find out, which it appears we're going to find out, if indeed we find out that the Biden administration spiked the appearance of jobs by spending your money and my money on fake jobs in the government so that they could give away more debt and more debt creation and more of our tax dollars so they could report a good jobs report so that everybody would think Joe Biden was doing a great job. If we find that out, and we are going to find that out, guys, but if we find it out, here's what it's going to mean. You're going to take a few 100,000 people that you and I are paying for. I'm speaking to anybody in the United States that you and I are paying for, useless jobs, by the way, useless. They're not needed. We're paying for guys to look like they're working. What's going to happen is we're going to stop paying guys that look like they're working. That immediately saves money. The second thing that's going to happen is people who are currently offering no productivity to the United States economy are going to be available for companies who want people to work, and they're going to actually do things that are productive for the United States economy. Now, what happens if you think you take a bunch of shit off one side of the balance sheet that is useless and, by the way, expensive, and you put it on another side of the balance sheet that doesn't cost us a dime and suddenly produces productivity? What do you think happens? Do you think that's bad?
abundance.
What happens is an economy grows and expands and improves.
Yep.
All the shit you say you want, you're going to get. But you don't get it by continuing a lie.
Yeah, for sure. I think last time we talked, before we were on the stream, I posted this video. Max had talked about. Let's see. Max had talked about the U.S. possibly selling the gold for Bitcoin on like 2 or 3 weeks ago on one of our streams. Posted it a few days ago, and then all of a sudden, Bo Hines and a lot of others are echoing just that. So pretty cool to see. Any thoughts on that, Max?
I'm sorry, I missed the last part. You broke up.
No worries. I was just. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. I was just saying a few weeks ago you had brought up. I think before I had heard it anywhere else that they could sell the gold for Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, and cool to see Bo Hines and a bunch of other people are talking about just that now.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, they were talking about possibly the way it would work is be selling paper gold for
Yes.
Bitcoin. Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, what you would do is you'd sell a bond backed by the gold. I think we actually talked about that.
Yeah.
The United States government would offer what effectively is a mortgage on the gold. So it's like if you go out and buy a house and you put, $1 million into a house and 800,000 of it is debt and you pay it back a little over time. Well, what that means is we would converge our asset into a zero interest shared debt instrument, just like, by the way, Michael Saylor does. He
Yeah.
sells zero coupon debt,
Mhm.
zero. So you're going to find the same vehicle get created for the United States government, and they're going to they're either going to mortgage or they're going to sell the gold. My hunch is they can't sell the gold because nobody's going to buy 650 tons of it, but or however many thousands of tons we have. But the point is that you're going to convert dollars that are currently useless other than in the mind of investors. It makes us feel like we have wealth, but it doesn't do anything. So they're gonna convert that asset without any cost to the United States taxpayer, and they're going to buy Bitcoin with it. Now they better do it quick, and the pace of activity must quicken because right now the race is to see who does it first.
Yep. Yeah, that's a question I asked you, last week. Whether the U.S. happens first or just some other countries with less restraints just says fuck it.
Well, we better
Um,
hope that the U.S. is first.
yeah,
It doesn't
exactly.
mean it will be, but we better hope so.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, only one, and you and Sailor say only one can get like 20% or however many. Yeah, that's crazy. Appreciate you guys for liking and commenting on the stream, getting it out to more people. What else? Anything else on top of mind right now, Max? Shit.
Uh, Not yet.
Yeah, no worries. Let's see. Yeah, sideline
We have
capital.
some stuff like USDC Circle became the first stablecoin to be approved in Japan. So those are big news.
Yes, I did see that.
Did you see World Liberty Financial launch their own stablecoin?
I did see that today too. A lot of stablecoin stuff this week, which is cool. What Frederico was talking about that last week. But yeah, Circle's USDC becomes the first stablecoin to be approved for use in Japan. Interesting. And then
Then we also have the highest, I believe, the highest TVL for tokenized RWAs, which is real world assets on chain. I think
yeah,
it surpassed 10 billion. So everything is telling you that investors are putting capital into on chain, not particularly into altcoins or other tokens, but actually just bringing USDC on chain and investing in assets. So everything is pointing out that BlackRock and these guys want to create their own tokenized exchange, whether it's in Texas or whatever that happened. But they want to make it a more efficient process. Cut middlemen's fees, etc. And I think it all is pointing out that there's more and more liquidity coming on chain, which I think it will ultimately help, our memes, altcoins, and Bitcoin, of course. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Interesting. Definitely want to look at keep an eye on the RWA stuff, because even if you're not invested in the assets itself, I think Ondo and all those are great. But I think it's going to really play into the NFT stuff as well, because at least right now, a lot of the RWA stuff does use the NFT technology, and I think potentially it could be a catalyst for the NFT, like the existing NFTs, like on the speculative side. I think right now we're seeing a lot of talks about being able to raise money through them and all these other different avenues that could, some kind of integration from some big company or just a number of things could, I think, are likely to create the next NFT bull run, or at least, you know, uh, at
Mhm.
least um, what's it called, contribute to that. So definitely something to keep an eye on for sure. And it's interesting, like we were talking about a few weeks ago, that everybody assumes that companies are going to be formed in tokenized stocks are going to be like non-fungible coins. I'm sorry, fungible coins. But we very likely could see a lot of companies raise money, like Max was saying, through NFTs, fractionalization, and all that, which NFTs enable. So RWA definitely
for
want to
sure.
keep an eye on for sure. Um,
You know what's so interesting? I mean, we haven't really covered, I guess stock market recovery, but uh, there's the April 2nd is the important next date for the tariffs, and I wonder if this is like just a, and of course it doesn't really matter long term for Bitcoin, but like for the stock market particularly, if this is just a trade into that day and then the risk after that happens, or everyone is already kind of like seeing or like almost like assuming that he's going to soften the tariff war or the trade war. on
Definitely.
April 2nd, and that's why we are kind of like, I think the S&P is back to the 200-day EMA. Tesla is up 12 or 15% in 2 days, something crazy. So I don't know. What do you guys make of that?
There's no doubt in my mind that this is all to converge deals. That's it. Whatever was thought to be the problem of tariffs will be far less than what was feared. It's a
Yeah.
sledgehammer. That's all it is.
Yeah, and also the fact that there's not just US capital being deployed into stocks, but actually foreign stocks, like foreign outflows from other countries. Like people only want to invest in the US stock market, especially given European economy, which is where I'm from and everything. It's like people just want to pour capital into the US. So I think this trade war is going to positively affect the stock market even further for new highs this year.
Yeah, like Max is saying, it's like short term pain just to enable the economy to have like massive abundance. So here, let's all follow. Appreciate you, Andre. You see here, you guys can hear me, right? Okay, cool. Um, but let's see here. NFT wise though, for Loco, Punks, what was
Hmm.
it? Up to 40 ETH now.
Yeah, I think they're finally back at, well, no, I don't think they're still at January levels, but they have been recovering pretty well. And I think the other ones that have been doing fairly well is Azuki and I believe Pudgy Penguins. Those are leading the recovery.
Yeah, so we're
What's
Oops.
Azuki at right now?
seeing bounces across the board here. I think my phone, I think's freezing out. Hold on. Can you guys hear?
Yeah, I
You're,
can
Can you
hear
guys
you.
hear me?
Hello?
you're
I can hear
breaking
you.
up a little, I think.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, you're good. Hmm.
Perfect. Yeah, I think it might be delayed, but yeah, Punk's usually a leading indicator for the rest of the NFT market. Apes and Pudgies right behind it. So I think we might be seeing some nice resurgence in the NFT market. Again, I think if we get a few, more talk around NFTs and maybe some like speculative bills and stuff, it could really push NFTs up this time. Especially the apes and punks. Probably this time, I think we'll hit all time highs. Where let's see, and then obviously the Taproot Wizards. What are your thoughts on everything going on with that for Loco?
I I'm not going to partake on it, but I think it's one of the hype mints that is coming up. Um, to be honest, that might be the reason. I believe it's on Bitcoin, right? There's a bunch of other, um, BTC NFTs that are moving, like puppets and node monks and OMB. But I wonder if those are just moving as kind of like, you know, a secondary kind of like action to what's going to happen with Taproot Wizards, which I think if they raise, the raise is about 15 million. I can't remember what it was, but it's something crazy. They actually fully sell out their mint. That will be one of the largest NFT mints on Bitcoin during this time. So it's a pretty not risky, but definitely brave endeavor to take on such a large mint.
Yeah, I think Udi. I mean, just I'm always, like I say, I always talk about operators. I actually just put out a tweet a few hours ago. Like, if you want to give yourself the best shot at winning in the NFT bull market. Obviously, there's people who invest in digital art and crypto punks and stuff like that, or they're kind of like in a league of their own. But like, if you want to, give yourself the best chance of success, I think just betting on great operators, I mean, people who have proven business uh, track records of integrity, all that different shit are they giving that betting on those type of people, whether that be Gary Vaynerchuk, Luca? Um, I'm making this point
Mhm.
because Udi obviously been around quite a while. Maybe he doesn't have crazy experience in business. I have no idea, but like, just been in the space for a long time. He's a big name, been around, since probably towards the beginning of Bitcoin, especially Bitcoin Twitter. and stuff like that, and a great operator around like that with a lot of connections, and obviously an understanding of the ordinal stuff gives, especially in a bull run, I think gives an asset or an NFT, at least in my eyes, like a way better shot at success, versus other stuff.
Mhm.
So I like the art though. I think a lot of them look super sick. What are your thoughts on the art? You think these look pretty cool for logo?
Are you sharing? Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's definitely a pretty. I remember watching, I think there was a meme con called Magic Internet Money, which I think was
Yeah.
launched by the community of Taproot Wizards. And it's definitely a very particular art. Like, you definitely have to like it, because, it definitely has a fan base. I'm going to put it that way. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean they look pretty cool. I mean they're PFPable. I mean if like whatever. I think a lot of these early ordinals, I think we're kind of in kind of the more early days of ordinals. And one of these ones with the good operators, regardless of what they look like, I think they look decent, like pretty cool. Obviously, like you said, they kind of have to be your taste, whatever. I think they're going to be driven by like Udi and everything, and kind of attached to him, which it can be a good thing if it is like a good person in the space. And I do think he has, shown that he has been. But either way,
Mhm.
interesting to see overall that a lot of these newer mints are, obviously this one just happened a few hours ago, but we saw the Good Vibes Club, we saw the Mask by Sam Spratt, kind of doing well as the apes, and the pudgies and the punks start to go up. I think if we are going to see an NFT bull run, these are the things that you want to start seeing, with the punks being the leading indicators, with the apes and all that, as well as like a lot of attention regulatory wise. Um, these different
Mhm.
talks again, if somehow tomorrow or in a few weeks or a few months from now they make a law where anybody can raise money, through NFTs for businesses or any of these different things, you could see a god candle off of that, or just a nice start of momentum, stuff like that. So I think overall chart wise, the vibe that you're starting to see on the Twitter of optimism, probably being the least important, but all that plus what we're seeing regulatory wise, I think we could see a really big explosion here with NFTs, um, especially the top projects that have stood the test of time since 2021. So
Kale.
Yeah, for sure.
let's see.
I think that I've been looking at cookie.fun. You guys follow that website?
I've
Um,
been on it a few times. Yeah,
because it used to be kind of like the go-to for leading mindshare for AI projects, but also in general, what's going around on Twitter. I think the other one is Lunar Crash. And this is the other website. Kind of like tells you what people are texting and tweeting about at the end of the day, more than utility or anything. That one I think is paid. You might be able to see it. Let's see if you can search by cryptocurrencies. Yeah, you can.
Hey
Um,
guys,
yeah. What's up?
I think there's a headline coming across Fox and CNBC that GameStop has indeed decided to put their treasury into Bitcoin.
Wow, amazing.
yeah,
How,
I
does
saw
it say
that.
how much?
Mhm.
How much?
Well, they got $5 billion in cash that they were talking about.
Fuck yeah, yeah. We saw a few months ago. We highlighted on stream with the forgot his name, Ryan Cohen, right?
Yep,
Meeting with Sailor. So it's
yep.
amazing to see that go down. You think
That's
this?
such a smart decision because honestly, the investor profile is like super crypto. Pro crypto.
Yeah,
Pretty much like
yeah,
everyone that owns GameStop has gambled or owns crypto. So that's great.
Yeah,
yep.
it's a great fit. Says laid for a full blown Bitcoin treasury strategy, including equity and debt issuance to buy Bitcoin. Extensive disclosures about Bitcoin. Let's see how soon they start buying. Wow, domino effect or what? Let's see.
I think it'd be good. They'll lead the way in terms of security and everything, and then the government, pension funds, everyone else can get a better idea how to store these correctly, and they can start buying themselves.
Absolutely. Just looking at the chat. What's up, Andre, Jeremiah? Just seeing if anything I missed. Um, what's up, Soul? Any thoughts on Board Ape Yacht Club NFT? Yeah, I think Board Apes, again, being one of the leaders, will do well. They're still alive. Um, before you know it, might just change his profile. Oh, somebody asked earlier, am I Chinese? No, we were talking about for Loco's friend Ben that we're gonna have on
Ben,
next.
not Bren.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah. Max is on here telling me. No, that's funny. Um, GameStop GME to add a Bitcoin treasury. Yeah, yeah. I wonder. You think you think most companies are a good chunk of them will do this, Max? You see like Apple eventually doing
Well,
this.
what I think is this is a momentum event.
Yeah,
It's 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 sort of a set of dominoes that can't stop now, and I feel pretty confident that as long as your time frame permits it, that every domino is going to cause momentum for more dominoes. That's why the other day when Saylor was asked by Becky Quick why he isn't scared of the volatility, he said, "When Bitcoin is $1 million, I will be buying $1 billion a day, and when Bitcoin is $10 million, I will be buying multiple billions of dollars a day."
yeah,
So the point is it's a self-fulfilling event at this point. The only question is, can you wait? That's really the only question.
absolutely. You survive. That's kind of like how I said in my tweet yesterday. Pretty much, if you can just stomach the pain of these corrections like we had the last few months, like all these, like pretty much Max is getting out. There's no going back now. Um, but there will be more corrections and stuff like that that you gotta, as we've shown here, that you gotta live through. Ethan, Sarah, what's up, Brian? Cody, what's up, guys? And yeah, guys, we will be doing like I do at all these shows. We'll do giving away $100 USDC to both somebody in the comments on the post as well as somebody in the chat who I feel like is who's asking great questions or just adding value to the show. So appreciate everybody in here. Again, we do these shows both on Tuesday and Friday. Again, Tuesday at 1 and then Friday a little bit earlier at 10 a.m. PST. Next week, we will be having a guest on, again, for Loco's friend Ben, who you said he's in investment banking from China, correct? Is he
Yeah,
was
I mean, he lives in the U.S. and his fund is a U.S. fund, but he was born in China. So he has dual citizenship slash, and so he will be able to provide us kind of like more of the insights on what the Chinese economy looks like because he's got some investors in real estate over there. But I think he's coming this Friday, not next Tuesday.
gotcha.
So,
So we got the U.S.
um,
bull versus the Chinese bull. Look at Mac this morning.
I mean, to be
I
honest,
can tell you who's going to win that one.
Yeah,
there's a
versus.
lot.
I love Max, man.
I mean, he actually is. Again, his portfolio is U.S. equities, right? But he does have a good insight
Smart
on what's
man.
going on in China. And if you take a look at some of the things that are happening there, whether it's energy, AI, or even like electric cars, they are leading the way. So I'm curious to see what he has to say, and how Max and him kind of like go back and forth on some of those points because again, perspectives are perspectives, and I'm curious to see that for sure.
For sure. Looks like at least for the people that I follow, we're out here at the top of the currently live on X. Love to see that. We always appreciate the support, guys. As we get deeper into this next, I mean, we started these streams 8 months ago for Loco, 8 or 9 months ago during the depths of the last corrective period. So it's been great to see. I mean, back at this point, there was almost nothing going on, kind of that boredom phase that we always talk about. Now to see that NFTs and everything that's happened since then, with countries, starting to buy, obviously, companies like GameStop, all of that. It's crazy to see how far we've come in just this time period, but going to continue to add, entertainment value to the show, guests, all of that good stuff. So we appreciate your guys' support. We're not leaving or anything. Just wanted to do that. And then Andre says you can literally make anything in China. What are the potential investment risks and opportunities in NFT market? Just like anything, bro. NFTs are a little bit different. It's more like collectibles, more community based. But again, I think focusing on only betting on like great operators, people that can prove that can build businesses, and actually take these NFTs up in value long term, are the best bet, I think, generally. Cody says, "Great work, Bren." Yeah, appreciate you guys. Um, what else? Gold making new all time highs still. I haven't been looking this week. Kind of, not really. What last
We're
week?
holding up pretty well. We're holding up pretty well, both on the majors and some like larger cap memes or large cap memes,
Oh yeah, Bitcoin.
which is what I'm confident that this might be not just a quick trade, but it might be actually an actual next leg up. That's what I'm thinking. But hey, I might be wrong. So
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Either way, just gotta wait it out. BMB showing some strength too. I mean, it's
So BNB is like a stable coin.
yeah, BMB has been only down what like fucking 15% from the all time high. Crazy to see. I mean, I remember last bull run, BMB just had this massive fucking run. Um, what are they at as far as coin market cap? They're like number 3 or 4, still above Solana. That is nuts. Wow.
mhm.
This goes to show. I mean, a lot of people thought that Cardano, XRP, all these would be out of the fucking top 10 by now, but to still see the dominance in here just goes to show. Even if you were to bought the top 10 and threw a dart at the top 10 or 20, fucking 3 or 4 years ago, you'd still be up massively. Tron. You bought any Tron ever, Max?
I have not. No,
Yeah.
no.
What is this? Ton. Let's see. Um,
The
yeah.
other thing is coming up is Mintify. Mintify is one of the largest. I guess they're not the largest, but it is one of the preferred kind of like NFT mint platforms as well as marketplaces. Did you guys participate in the? Some of our members in V3L got access to the pre round, which is one
So
of
it's
the
a
things that we do.
token for their platform.
Yes, Mint is launching today. I think around 15% of the tokens will be allocated to users as an airdrop, whether you participate on the pre-market or you were a user in the platform for the last year or so.
Now, is this like a
So
marketplace slash like a platform where people can launch?
marketplace is last, yeah, exactly. So it's like a Magic Eden and OpenSea, but they've been actually taking care of the user way more than the other two, and so it has way better kind of like sentiment and review than the other two. Also less pressure, right? Because they're kind of like you know they're not like a main character, right? But they've been gathering a lot of positive feedback. So I think the tokens should do well as long as the market conditions hold. So
Max, that kind of reminds me. You were saying that you expect maybe some tokens belonging to some of the high, like the top NFT like infrastructure. I think you were talking more so on like maybe the creation side. But do you think like the tokens attached to the NFT marketplaces, the OpenSeas, Magic Edens, stuff like that, might be solid bets or could be?
They could be. I mean, again, these are long term events, so you have to think of all of this as an investment, not a trade.
Yeah,
You I think the mistake is trying to figure out the trade when in fact the figuring out part is more, do you believe in tokenization, NFTs, and digital currency? If
yeah,
you believe in that, then that means forever.
yeah, for sure. Do you think Trump administration done more? Oh, right, those already before.
You think OpenSea is ever going to drop a token? What's taking them so long?
yeah, I don't know what's going on with that, but um, yeah, it's interesting. I didn't really I heard about Mintify, but didn't know about the token and everything. Um, love the grind of you guys.
Um, what was I gonna say? Have you seen the BNB stable coins? I mean, not stable coin, meme coins. They've been doing very well.
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't really dabbled myself, but I've heard from friends and seen on Twitter. Have you been dabbling in them at all?
No, I hate bridging.
Yeah,
Bridging sucks. Um, what
but yeah,
what's Suzuki at for a floor right now? Oh, that's not bad. What was that? It was like
it's up a bit.
not
Nice.
really. It's still down from the thing. I mean, it's definitely a buying opportunity. So
Yeah, I think any of these top 10, 5, 10 projects from 2021 are going to do really well. Still think VFriends is the best buy here for show, but it's interesting. I want to see. I want to win GME. Anything else from that?
what are they buying? You know,
It's
Bitcoin
yeah,
hasn't really moved off of that announcement.
yeah. Again, all of these things, none of the buying's actually happened yet. I saw another state passed a Bitcoin reserve in the what's it called, Senate or the House. Stacking up for that. I think when all these buying does start happening, obviously it'll crazy effect. 4.7 billion in the bank, 131 million net income. Imagine
Okay.
GME just starts going nuts again. And all the GME holders from like fucking the cult members from 2021 are just printing.
Maybe, but I don't think it's gonna happen. That was kind of a black swan event.
Well,
I
we're
feel like
talking
that.
about because of them buying Bitcoin. Obviously, if Bitcoin goes up, I mean, just like MicroStrategy, it obviously probably have a positive effect on the stock. Who knows how explosive, but
Yeah, that
like
was
right, Max, I'm not wrong. Obviously, if a lot of the Bitcoin's on their balance sheet, Max, you think this could even like would likely create a big resurgence in like the GME stock?
Well, I think it'll do kind of the same thing that it did to MicroStrategy.
Yeah, obviously positive. That'd be nuts. Big GME hits all time highs like when it where it did during the whole big thing. Wouldn't
yeah,
that
that
be the
was a crazy
crazy?
event.
That would be a crazy outcome. Bitcoin dominance 61%.
What else? I have something else to talk about. Totally forgot though. Um,
US 100 coming nicely. The SPX. Nice.
Recovering.
Nice. What we're only it's like we covered like half the move already. VIX back down. Oil up a bit. But yeah. Let's see. Um, let's see. Look at the chat. What Tesla? How's Tesla up 4% today? Nice.
Yeah, Tesla's been recovering.
Ripping. Crazy to see Elon still the number one richest in the world, despite
Yeah, they
being
don't update that chart very often. I feel like.
I don't know. I don't know. I think they do pretty update it pretty often because it's like based on his highly on his equity in Tesla. And, update on the Tesla crisis. What crisis are you referring to?
The car burning, the riot, or the protest.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Max has an opinion on that.
What's that? The protest?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think they ought to be sent to the worst prison in the world.
There we go. Andre the Giant. Elon's wealth is on another level. I mean, yeah. Look at the impact he's had. 1.2K people in here. Appreciate you guys, or at least at one point in the stream. Um, if you were in here recently, make sure to give every. Oh, it's been doing this ever since. Um, Go ahead and turn on post notifications so you don't miss any of the other streams. We will be back on Friday at 10 a.m. PST as well. What else is going on? Pretty quiet day. I think that's kind of what we want, right? The more quiet and boredom, the
Yes.
better. Bro, what do you think? Bro, what do you think he will use for X payment? I think X. That's a good point. You know who I am. The whole X payment thing I think is going to be huge as well. What are they going to use for X payment? I'd imagine obviously USD, and they'll have so you can pay with all major currencies, but as well as crypto wise, stable coins will probably be in there. But who knows? Does he implement Doge? Who fucking knows? But I'd imagine pretty quickly they'd have Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, all that. That'd be pretty cool to be able to tip people on tweets through Bitcoin, ETH, all that. So I've heard some news on here. I've heard that that's actually supposed to come this year. So we'll see. Rojam says, Max, what's the first thing you want to see turned into an NFT?
Um, well, I think if you just saw a few regular old nice office towers, it's game over. Just like just like the first country that prints their own paper money to buy Bitcoin is the winner.
For sure. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. I've kind of speculated earlier that if we were to get like a few office buildings were to go, NFT'd or something big like that, that it would create kind of a bubble or kind of a wave in the NFT speculative wise, kind of the stuff we're talking about here.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
My bad. I said if say there was a big development in the RWA side, like a big office building were to go
Sure.
on chain or whatever, do you think kind of how I was speculating earlier, this would create a wave in like the speculative NFT side with these different things we're talking about here?
Well, I mean, if I gave you an opinion, it would be a guess.
Yeah,
So
of course.
I think we just see that's one of the things I think we have to get away from.
Yeah,
Every event can't the answer can't be, well, do you think that would cause this, this, and this? Well,
of course.
we don't. Nobody knows that,
Yeah,
and it's too much chat. It's too much stuff in your brain. You
yeah,
don't.
makes sense.
First of all, it doesn't matter. What would matter is that if someone bought an office building with an NFT, it would mean that NFTs are forever going to be an asset based vehicle, just like when Trump said Bitcoin is real. It just means another layer of this is never going away.
Makes sense. I got you. For sure, Office Tower is gonna rock. Yeah. What are the key factors that determine the value of an NFT? It depends. There's different sectors. There's digital art, which is obviously the art itself, the artist, the provenance and stuff. There's crypto punks, which are kind of in the league of its own. And then there's these projects that we talk about on here with the Be Friends, Azuki, Board Ape Yacht Club that are more IP and operator driven, meaning the NFTs long term will really only be valuable is if the IP itself, like people give a shit about it. A lot of people, they have different ways of building that through like Pudgy's got toys in Walmart, different ways of that they're going to build that IP. But that's what I would say, and that's really what I base a lot of the long term prospects on these NFT projects is the operators behind it, the founders, the teams' ability to make it matter and make people give a shit about it. So that's really what my long term thinking on the NFTs are for the most part. NFTs are the future of art, collectibles, and ownership, so forever going to be away. Yeah, I think it just bring massive legitimacy to the tech. Crazy to see all the stuff that's happening now, and then I won't watch the video, but in this video right here, you know, Gary talks about like 4 years ago or three, almost 4 years ago here that everything's going to be an NFT, contracts, buildings, all that stuff we're talking about. So it's pretty insane to see it play out now. We're starting to talks of it at least. Market is healing. What is involved in minting an NFT? Typically, they'll have certain time periods for certain groups. There'll be like a whitelist, people mint ahead of time, but typically you just connect your wallet to uh, and then it just does a transaction, just like if you were swapping from a coin on any of the exchanges, and then the NFT just goes in your wallet. NFT already getting into gaming, yeah, that could be a big. That's another way, like Max was saying, that'll just bring legitimacy to NFTs and digital assets. Appreciate it, Jeremy. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, Oklahoma passes strategic Bitcoin reserve legislation. Now they got one, two, three, four states that have passed the House. It's amazing. Oh yeah, and then Trump Media announces intention to partner with Crypto.com to launch ETFs. Because there was I don't think we even talked about it because it didn't play out, but there was the rumor that Binance and the Trump was going to take ownership of like some ownership in Binance and have a deal there. That didn't play out, but it looks like their intention to do ETFs with Crypto.com, another exchange. Alvin says, "Does Max think the DoorDash financing option is a sign of the market top?" No,
No.
no, no. Concerning NFT, Sailor and BlackRock buys almost a read. Buy. Yeah, NFTs are a whole different thing, man. Cody says, "Max, how do you manage risk during times of high market volatility?" By being an investor.
You don't look at the chart.
Yeah. By adopting an investor mentality instead of concerning. Oh yeah, then Ray Dalio too this week, talking about how a combination of the Bitcoin and gold is a good hedge against inflation. Kind of a big different tone of change of tone than he had even just as recently as a few years ago. I remember that 2023 where he was saying, he's kind of downplaying it. Just another example of you know, early on, a lot of these people would doubt it. That's kind of the time you want to buy. I don't think he was doubting it back then, but it's definitely just a tone change. Just he said, "Don't look at the chart, not the chat." I really experienced the future today on NFTs and BTC. That's good to hear, Drago. Concerning NFT. Join the stream, boys. Yeah, I appreciate you, Jeremy. Thanks for being on, bro. Won't be long before every crypto institution and individual will have some level of allocation to crypto. Yeah. What is the maximum level of leverage I think most people should stay away from leverage in general, but I use 5x at the most with strict risk management. It's really just an extra tool if you're, whatever, but definitely not necessary. Curry says, thanks, bro. I appreciate you, Curry. Appreciate you, Philip. All right, I'm going to do the giveaway right now. Um, let's see here. Let's see. Um, no, I'm going to give it to probably, I don't think we've done a giveaway for him before. I want to give this to somebody who's probably been the most consistent on these streams. We really appreciate you from the beginning. DMs me a lot of suggestions and comments and questions and stuff like that. I'm gonna go ahead and give the 100 USDC to someone we appreciate a lot, Rojam. Um, congrats, brother. I'm gonna go ahead and send you 100 USDC after the show. But congrats on that, and then I'll do a giveaway from the comments as well after the show. Um, Cody says, "Always do to reach to be rich." What else does it take to be rich? Patience, brother. Extraordinary. Congratulations, bro. For Loco, you still with us? Or he's
No, he's
off?
dipped. He
He's off.
dipped.
Were we on TikTok today, Danksy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Any questions from there today?
No, not really. TikTok is like really weird. Like,
Sporadic,
yeah, they just come in and out. Like, yeah.
for sure. Let's see. Congratulations to the winner. Yeah. Yeah. So what else? We covered which the NFTs, everything going on. I think again we just need to remain patient, like Max was saying. Um, we could obviously get a move down here, but just not sweat so much the short term, and just continue to go. Let's see, Loner, appreciate you, brother. Thanks. See anything else, man? Anything else you can see
God.
from the chat or anything I missed?
No, just quiet. Quiet is good.
Yeah, just gotta let this thing play out. Um, Max, anything else that I'm missing? You think we should cover?
I just think this is a good sign that we gotta be um, calm and not needing, a piece of news.
Yeah,
This is, believe me, you can't look at all the stuff that's going on as this thing that needs fuel every day. Believe me, if it needs people making shit up every day, it's a fantasy.
yeah,
So you don't want cryptocurrency to need a story every day.
yep,
It you have, if anybody's going to make any money doing this, it's not going to be doing it this way. It's going to be letting things unfold. They will unfold, but we've got to want the right things to happen in the market, not a frenzy every hour over some electric event. Because look, if anything needs that, then it's not going to last.
exactly. Every time the last few months we've gotten some huge like news event or expectation, it's always ended in fucking disappointment or just a major top. These bigger corrections, like I said, in August of 24, they always end usually just like with a move up, and then small little news starts trickling in. Not these huge frenzies like you're saying. So
Right.
absolutely. Um, I asked about Litecoin a couple times. Yeah, I think Litecoin. I think Max would agree. With the rest of the crypto market being in the top, whatever, 15 or 20, I'll probably do well this next phase. But yeah, with the rest of the top 50 over the next few years, I'd expect Litecoin to do well. But yeah, guys, it's a lot of quiet today, so I think we will end a little bit early. If you guys don't have any more questions or anything in the chat, we will go ahead and pick it up again on Friday at 10 a.m. PST. We will have a guest on, and of course, we will be talking about all the other stuff going on, as well as that discussion. But yeah, like Max said, and something that's been really helpful for me, again, is just focusing on not as much looking at the chart or even on Twitter, and focusing on the things that can help you get better stuff in your regular life, and because we're in for a great couple years if we can just be patient. Thanks, C.
No
Any
doubt
final
about
thoughts, brother?
What's up? I got
Said any
nothing.
final?
I'm
And sorry
being
to
fixed.
interrupt, Max. I think you were saying something, but
it. No, I was just saying, no doubt about it.
absolutely. I know you kind of just gave some closing thoughts there, but before we sign off, anything else, Max?
No, guys, let's just be patient. The right things are unfolding. The right currents underneath all this are happening, and we just got to let the game come to us.
Well said. And then definitely check out this newsletter that Max posted. I think you do these how often, Max?
A couple times a week.
A couple times a week. Definitely check out what he's got going here. I really liked this one. He posts it sometimes on Twitter, but you can subscribe here too, right, Max?
Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Friday. Definitely give everybody a follow in the panel. Check out the Boss Man Calls channel as well, and we'll see you on Friday. Love you guys.
Thanks,
Peace.
guys. Have a good
Take
one.
care, man.